The FBI estimates in the United States alone at any given time there are 25 to 50 active serial killers. Now, imagine across the world. The Moors murderers, Ian Brady and Myra Hindley, killed 5 victims between July 1963 and October of 1965 in and around Manchester, England. The victims were aged between 10 and 17 years old: Pauline Reed, John Kilbride, Keith Bennett, Leslie Ann Downing, and Edward Evans, at least 4 of whom were sexually assaulted. 2 of the victims were discovered in graves dug on Saddleworth Moor. A 3rd grave was discovered there in 1987, more than 20 years after Brady and Hindley's trial. The body of a 4th victim, Keith Bennett, is also suspected to be buried there, but despite repeated searches, it still remains undiscovered. Ian Brady was born in Glasgow, Scotland, on January 2, 1938, to a single mother, Peggy Stewart. He never knew his father's identity, and unable to afford a babysitter and working as a waitress to support them, she was forced to leave Ian alone for long periods of time, and she gave him up for unofficial adoption when he was 4 months old, visiting him fairly regularly until he was 12, although she never told him that she was his mother. He grew up a lonely, difficult child, and despite the best attempts of his adoptive parents, prone to temper tantrums and slow to integrate with his peers, he developed a fascination with the Nazis and the writings of Nietzsche, and began a career in petty crime and burglary, which resulted in his return, age 16, to live with his mother and stepfather, Patrick Brady, in order to avoid a custodial sentence. Brady tried to bolster a sense of belonging in his new family by taking his stepfather's name, but he found true excitement through his continued interest in the Third Reich, as well as in the writings of the Marquis de Sade and other sadistic authors. He returned to crime within a short time and, as a result, ended up in Strangeways Prison at the age of 17, where he was forced to toughen up considerably while also learning rudimentary bookkeeping skills. Following his release in November of '57, he became even more of a loner, employed at different manual jobs for short periods, until he took a job as a stock clerk with the Manchester firm. It was here that he met Myra Hindley when she was employed in 1961. Myra Hindley was born on July 23, 1942, in Manchester, England. She grew up with her grandmother. After the drowning death of a close male friend when she was 15, Hindley left school and converted to Roman Catholicism. In 1961, she met Ian Brady, a stock clerk who was recently released from prison. She fell in love with him and soon gave herself over to his total control. She was soon dressing and styling herself to please him, accepting his extreme political views and even posing for pornographic pictures. Encouraged by her unquestioning acceptance, Brady's ideas became even more outrageous, culminating in his instruction to her that murder and rape were the supreme pleasure. And so, Brady hatched plans of rape and murder. July 12, 1963, 16-year-old Pauline Reed became their first victim. She was kidnapped by Hindley while on her way to a local dance when driven up to where Brady was awaiting their arrival. Reed was raped, beaten, and stabbed before being buried. November 23, 1963, 12-year-old John Kilbride disappeared from the vicinity of the market in Ashton-under-Lyne, never to be seen again. June 16, 1964, 12-year-old Keith Bennett disappeared while on his way to his grandmother's house. His disappearance was not noted until the next day, and a massive police search revealed no clues. Boxing Day holiday 1964, 10-year-old Leslie Ann Downing disappeared from a local fairground, and again, a huge police effort bolstered by volunteers unearthed no clues as to her whereabouts. October 7, 1965 proved the turning point for the police when Myra Hindley's 17-year-old brother-in-law David Smith arrived at Hyde Police Station with a horrific tale of violence. Knowing Brady through family connections, Smith was initially beguiled by Brady's unorthodox and violent politics, but this changed when he arrived at Hindley and Brady's home on the evening of October 6th to witness Brady killing 17-year-old Edward Evans with an axe. After Evans was finally throttled with a length of electrical flux, Hindley and Brady joked about the mess and also told Smith of other victims buried on the moors. Concealing his horror for fear of meeting a similar fate, Smith assisted them with the cleanup before returning home to tell his wife and alert the police. Hindley and Brady were brought to trial at Chester Assizes on April 27, 1966, where they pled not guilty to all charges. Media interest was intense, and the pair's failure to show any remorse served to make public revulsion even greater. On May 6, 1966, Brady was found guilty of the murders of Leslie Ann Downing, John Kilbride, and Edward Evans, while Hindley was found guilty of the murders of Leslie Ann Downing and Edward Evans, and also for harboring Brady in the knowledge that he killed John Kilbride. They were both jailed for life with the minimum recommended sentence of 30 years for what are today known as the Moors murders.